And again with us for more tea, knocking the pot over is none other than Terrance Woodley of Hit Strategies, pollster to people like Jasmine Crockett. He had been a pollster to Chris Jones out of Arkansas. He knows the numbers, he knows the issues. Terrance, thank you for joining me. I'm looking forward to you knocking the pot over because every time you give me your stats, I'm like, really? Really? So, and it was great seeing you at the Image Awards. The positive image of Black America is important in this time, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, I was very neat. I feel refreshed. I feel full. I feel ready for the fight that we have ahead. Thanks for having me,
Yeah,
April.
from Sam Jackson, Viola Davis to Michael
That's
B.
it.
Jordan. I mean, there was some
Jesse
major,
Jackson tributes, keep hope alive, you know?
yes, I am somebody.
I am
And
somebody.
right, and with this era that we are in, your polls matter so much more. I am somebody because you have something that goes to Black resistance, as it also relates to No King's Day, as it
That's right.
relates to a lot of the white marches as well. Can you talk to us about that really fast?
Absolutely, April. So Hit Strategies recently put out a Black Ops research project that's been spending the last year researching Black people's willingness or unwillingness to participate in these resistance protests, whether it's a No Kings rally or an ICE out march. Many of us have been looking at these protests and seeing that the complexion is a little bit different than what it was during the Black
Less
Lives Matter.
melanated, let's be honest, less
Hello?
melanated.
It's a little, they look a little. So I want to talk to Black folks, specifically Black folks that were participating in protests in 2020 during
Mhm.
the Black Lives Matter movement and figure out why they weren't participating now. And frankly, a lot of Black folks just feel like they're either afraid, they fear arrest, they fear state
Mhm.
sanctioned violence. They see white people getting shot in the streets. Okay, black voters understand that there's even a desire to see more Black people in the streets so that they can unleash more violence. And so, look, Black folks are participating. We're just finding different ways to participate. We're boycotting, right? We're
Yeah.
posting information online, things that we could do privately without putting our bodies on the line in public demonstration. Which
And
is
that's
why I think these primary elections are a way that people are expressing their
yeah.
discontent, expressing their frustration.
And that's so important because remember when Kamala Harris, November 5th, 2020, this when we had Trump for a year now, it was 2024.
Yep.
November 5th, 2024. I'll never forget. People were like, I'm sitting on, after Kamala Harris lost, we saw that beautiful picture of Black women sipping tea on the wall, seeing the city burn. The city did burn.
Yeah.
And that was so much, there was so much commentary around that. And that was kind of the beginning, right, of the sit back resistance. Is that what you would say?
That's exactly right, April. We are detecting mis and disinformation towards our people, telling our folks to withdraw, telling
Hmm.
Black folks that this is not our fight, or
Right.
even telling Black women that you were in the 92% that did the right thing, so you did your part and you don't have to do anything else. Well, we know that that's not how resistance works. We know that Black people have always led liberation movements to liberate
Yeah.
our communities, but to also just
Yes.
liberate America.
That's
And
right.
so similar to the 2020 election, where the movement is what drove so much of the votes of the participation in that election because of Black Lives Matter movement. This election in 2026 is going to be determined by who does and doesn't resist. And resistance doesn't just mean protests,
Yeah.
right? Resistance could be those little black boxes we used to put on our social media,
That's
right?
right.
Resistance means not shopping at Target.
That's
Resistance
right.
means all kinds of things. And what we know is that if we can get folks to take any action now, even if it's changing their social media box to black, then it's more likely that they will vote later.
This conversation, this platform, the contrarian, is resistance. It's
That's right.
information. And people don't
That's
understand.
exactly
It's
right.
not always everybody out there in the street protesting. And I remember Terrence hearing stories of the civil rights marches. A lot of women in the South, they couldn't do so much, but what they did was opened up their homes, gave food from the fields, the tomatoes and tomatoes, the tomatoes being tomatoes,
That's
okay?
right.
And those butter beans and had those pallets for Jesse Jackson and Dr.
Yeah.
King and John Lewis, Harry Belafonte and Julian Bond and Andy Young. It's what you could do.
That's
And
right.
so, and you're absolutely right. Now, the NAACP, Derek Johnson has said, and I've heard him say, be careful. If we're out there protesting, they want to come after us. They want to create martial law. There is an attack on the browning of America, black and brown America. Minnesota is not just brown, it's black as well. It's Somalis and other Africans, what's happening across the nation. So you're absolutely right. There is an understanding of trying to be ahead of what the opposition, if you will, the
That's
people who
exactly
don't
right.
like us are trying to do, if you can speak to
That's
that.
right. And you look, April, you're absolutely right. Like, just because we are now on the front lines protesting, because we're now on the front lines demonstrating, doesn't mean we're not resisting. We
Right,
know, look, everybody doesn't have to do everything, but we
right,
all must do something.
right.
And to your point, April, this show, this platform is resistance. Keeping our community informed is resistance.
Yeah,
Because information is power and it makes us feel empowered when we know what's happening.
yeah.
And far too often we don't get a lot of that information on entertainment news. And so folks have to seek platforms like this to stay informed, stay educated, and to keep our folks empowered.
On entertainment news, the three-letter word, right?
Entertainment news, that's right.
Yeah, that's actually trying to take over another, that's a whole nother story. But what are the top lines from this study, though, that you found? Because our white allies have been out there fighting. I mean, No King's Day, hundreds of thousands of people all across the country and even the world, and they wonder, but they're fighting for us, and we thank you. But what are the top lines that you would give our allies so they understand that we appreciate, we're not just sitting back?
Yeah, that's right. So first, I think we have to resist, we have to reject this narrative that Black folks are taking a break from this one. We are not. Black folks are engaged, we're just engaged in different ways.
Mhm,
The five top actions that
mhm,
Black people are willing to take to resist are things like voting in elections,
mhm,
boycotting companies
mm,
that do harm to us, buying from Black-owned businesses, keeping our communities informed, and
yeah.
ensuring that the folks that we know, I'm sorry, ensuring the folks around us know how to vote. Notably, Rachel, those are all very private actions.
Mhm,
Voting and keeping our community informed and boycotting. Black folks are resisting in very private ways.
mhm,
But we are going to have to continue to, as we go into this primary season, even in Texas, where we see a primary that just happened this week, we are seeing Black folks show up and show out in historic ways. Black people participated in the Texas early vote at
uh-huh.
almost the same way that they participated on election day in 2024.
So here's the thing, and I just found out my local precinct was redistricted. And I'm like, what? What? And this redistricting thing kind of disenfranchises people if you didn't know, because a candidate actually reached out to me. She said, April, look, she said, do you know that there was a redistricting? I said, I got something. She said, yes, and she helped me find my district. So what does that mean in this midterm election? Because I didn't know. I did
Listen,
not know. I got it
if
from the
April
board.
Ryan didn't know,
Yeah.
April Ryan, who has been, listen, whose responsibility it is to keep her ear to the ground, to know what's happening in these streets and to
I
keep
know
us
what's happening
informed.
in the streets nationally, but in my own
Could you
space.
imagine? Could
Right,
you imagine what this is
right.
doing? That the confusion and the chaos is a part of that's a part of the
Yes.
plan. Right?
Mhm.
The plan is to not only confuse us, to create chaos, but to scare us as he is deploying FBI agents to election precincts, as he's threatening to deploy ICE agents around election precincts. The plan is to scare us.
Yeah.
But we will not be deterred. This is not the first time Black folks have faced state-sanctioned violence. I would like folks to be reminded by the legacy of Jesse Jackson to keep hope alive, right? Because
Yeah.
this ain't the first time that we have been deterred from voting, that they try to make it harder for us to vote. But what we see is when they try to rig the rules, when folks like Jasmine Crockett try to fight this system, that the system will fight back. They tried to draw that sister right out of Congress, and now she's running for Senate.
So with this wave, I feel that there's a tsunami, but there are these little tactics. Yes, I'm in what people call Wakanda in Maryland, but I too did not know my
That's
precinct
right.
was redistricted. And when you get those forms from your Board of Election Supervisors in your state, open it to find out your polling place.
That's
Because
right.
see, with my determination, if I didn't know, I would have gone to the old place and they said, "Oh, you're not here." I said, and I still would have driven, but how many people would do that? You
That's
know?
right.
So what are you seeing? What do you anticipate with this election cycle, this primary election cycle?
Yeah, April, look, one thing I want to do, I want to encourage the people listening here because your audience are amongst the most informed, right? They
Yeah.
seek information, they
Mhm.
come here to stay informed. But I
Yes.
have to encourage the folks that are listening that that's actually not enough. It's not enough for you to be informed. You have to share that information. You have to
Mhm.
repost April Ryan's show. You got to
Yeah.
open your election notice and then post that information.
Yeah.
Send it to your family group chat. Let them know because we are the most trusted messengers in our community. When we ask in this Black Ops project, who are the leaders that you trust to give you information about voting? We list things like elected officials and black church leaders and black members of Congress, black business leaders. You know who they say are the most trusted leaders? People like them. They're
Mm.
friends and family. And so they are looking to us to keep them informed. And that is a powerful form of resistance. So I want to encourage folks to continue to share this show and share the information that you're hearing. But
Yeah.
I expect black folks to show up in this primary the same way we see them showing up in Texas in historic numbers, as a show of their resistance and discontent.
Georgia's on my mind. And people keep saying, no, Keisha is not going to. I said, let me tell you something. And I'm not a pollster, but I've been doing this for a long time and I see certain indicators, right? You've got white farmers in rural areas in this nation, in red states, that are dis disenfranchised, that are upset, that are hurting. Their pocket is hurting. They've been turned on. Their soy is not being sold to China. Their meat is being challenged by other countries, and they're not getting the profits that they used to. And that's just white farmers,
That's
not
right.
even talking about black farmers. And in places like Georgia, where farming is a top industry, does Keisha Lance Bottoms have a chance? Because
I,
people are very upset.
yeah. Yeah, look, in transparency, I am Jasmine Crockett's poster, but I'm also Keisha Lance Bottoms poster. And so in transparency, I work for both of these campaigns. And I can tell you, when we hear these electability arguments,
Mhm,
specifically about black women or black candidates in general, we hear the same thing about Mandela Barnes in
mhm,
Wisconsin. Um, what I often have to remind people is the electability argument is just depending on who you consider the swing voter, right? If
mm,
if if the swing voter that you are going after are white suburban women who have
mhm.
voted for Trump 3 times, majority of white suburban women have voted for Trump 3 times now as opposed to the swing voter that Trump did a little bit better with men of color and a little bit better with young people and a little bit better with young black men, right? Those were the swing voters that
Uh-huh.
Trump was improving his margins on by 3 or 4 or 5% over the last 2 cycles. Well, that is the swing voter that a candidate like Jasmine Crockett and Keisha Lance Bottoms appeals to. They appeal to those young voters of color that have been splintering from the Democratic coalition. They appeal to men of color that have been splintering from the Democratic coalition. And so I believe that candidates like Jasmine Crockett and Keisha Lance Bottoms are the most electable because they help Democrats reassemble the base that has been splintering.
And for full transparency, as you're being transparent, they just happen to be running for office, and they just both happen to be my sorors from Delta Sigma Theta sorority. But there are other candidates out here. But there's some things that, and again, that's transparency. But these are women who are out here running for these major seats. I
That's
mean,
right.
think about it. Stacey Abrams, a black woman, did the unthinkable when people discounted her.
That's right.
She made Georgia, she turned that blood red state, turned it blue, right?
That's right.
So the bottom line is, I think Georgia is on the precipice. North Carolina is now purple, right? Or is it purple, or is it still kind of a shade of red that has a lot of blue popping through it? What
Yeah,
is
look, the South is getting real purple. I tell the folks all the time, the South are not red states. They're just a bunch of oppressed states. It's more
Oh,
white.
I like
Listen,
that.
listen. Think about it, April. And across the South, you have states that have the largest black eligible voting population in places like Mississippi, Louisiana, but they also have the lowest black turnout. That's not a
And the highest
coincidence.
number of black folks are in the southeast in
That's
this
right.
nation.
That's right.
That's
You have
crazy.
the highest rate of eligible black voters in any state in America is North Carolina and Louisiana. Top two. They also have the lowest black turnout. Those coincidences,
Crazy.
those ain't coincidences, that's oppression, right?
Terrence, come on, you preaching today. Looking like Frankie Beverly with your baseball cap and your cream shirt. Happy feelings, and joy and pain. So
Right.
listen, I got three questions for you, and I'm gonna let you go because your time is fleeting and it's important. And I thank God that I've had you twice in a week because
That's
sometimes I
right.
just run at you. I'm traveling here, I'm traveling, but I
That's
pinned
right.
you down.
Yep,
Thank
we'll
you.
pull that phone out in the middle of the airport and do an interview.
I will pull that phone out anyway. You know it. I don't
And for that, we
care.
thank you.
But we get the message across, and it's about the message. But Terrence, white women, let's go back to white women. We thought when Kamala Harris was running against Donald Trump that white women were going, and the abortion issue was going to put her over the top. That didn't happen. And then,
We did not think. I did not think that.
oh, you didn't? Okay. Because we were
I did
hearing
not think
everybody
that.
was like, I'm upset. And they were
Mm-mm.
protesting
Mm-mm.
at the Supreme Court and everything, but it didn't.
Nope, I did not think that. In transparency, I was also Kamala Harris's pollster. I never believed that white women were going to vote for her at higher rates than they voted for Hillary Clinton, for Scranton Joe, and they did not. Right? Well, she did not get a single point more I'm sorry, more white women's votes than Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden. And so I've long stopped believing that white women were who was going to save the Democratic Party. A majority of white women are going to vote for Republicans in almost every election. And so we have to reassemble a different coalition. It's young people that have been splintering or staying home. In Texas, there are 800 black people that didn't vote in the last election. Kamala Harris lost by 200,000 votes. There's 1.2 million young people that didn't vote in Texas in the last election, but she lost by 200,000 votes. So, I mean, I believe that the winning coalition that Democrats are going to need is who I call the new swing voters, and that's young people of color and men of color that have determined the outcome of the last few elections.
So a lot of young black people in the last election, black
Yeah.
men voted for Donald John Trump. God knows why. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, I'm saying that as a journalist, and I'm saying it as a black person. I'm saying as somebody who has been targeted by this man. Um, I don't, is it familiarity or is it he speaks like I do? Is it like a lot of the people who are in Kentucky who didn't know that Obamacare was ACA? Is it, is it just he talks like me, he seems like he's cool? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Relatability over policy and
Yeah.
thought and speak?
Well, look, one thing I will say is that it's not just young black men, it's young black people, right? It is, but we have a gender gap in the black community between black men and black women, but we also have a generation gap
Yes.
between younger black voters and older black voters.
Mhm.
And what a lot of younger black people and black men were appealed to in Donald Trump is there are various reasons, right? Some of it was cultural, some of it was economic, but most of them were just what I call Trump curious, right? They were curious about what he would do. They never loved him. They never even liked him more than they liked her. They were curious about what he could do. And now many of those voters are becoming what I call Trump furious. Those last into his coalition are the first ones out. And that's why what we saw is, in 2024, where he did a little bit better with black men, a little bit better with young black voters. In 2025, those voters returned to the Democratic coalition in places like Virginia and New Jersey and New York. But what I keep warning Democrats is not to take those voters for granted. They didn't come home. They're not Democratic voters. They are swing voters. And they swung to Trump in 2025. I'm sorry, in 2024. And they swung back to Democrats in 2025. But we must earn their votes in 2026.
Detroit. Donald Trump has impacted the auto industry, the tariffs on aluminum and steel. Does that make a difference for the average American?
There are some. Listen, Detroit is a unique microcosm, right?
Yes, it is.
Man, listen, economy is
Ooh,
happening different in Detroit than it's happened everywhere else. I mean, I go around the country sitting in focus groups and ask folks what issue keeps them up at night. Detroit, Michigan is the only place where I hear car insurance costs. It's the only place in America that car insurance is keeping folks
I
up at night. So
love the D, but you got a lot. There's a lot of
there's a
different
different
mindsets.
economy happening there, So
Yes, it's
we
yeah.
have a historic candidacy and a black woman running for mayor there. We have historic candidacy and a black man running for governor. Several black women running for U.S. Senate in Illinois. I'm sorry, those are in Illinois. Um, But yeah, there are some historic candidacies in Michigan that I expect to mobilize our folks, our, Black people, but we have to engage there. The other thing about Detroit is Dearborn, right? It is
Yes.
that the largest Muslim population in America, the largest Palestinian population in America, and we have to engage there. And Democrats are going to have to get serious about this conversation about the
And Biden
Palestinian
didn't do
conflict.
that well there.
That's right.
And that's crazy. He
We
didn't do
have
that.
to get serious about the Palestinian conflict because it's going to determine a lot of Democratic primaries in 2026.
And two last things. I know I said I have to go, and this is quick. Is this war going to be a determinant in this election?
You know, Specifically for Black voters that I'm talking to often, Black folks don't often engage in foreign policy the same way they do domestic policy that's impacting, them and their families and their communities, except that we got what Tupac said, you got money for war but can't feed the poor, right? That's Black folks' question is why you got all this money to capture a president in Venezuela, kill a president in Iran, and but my gas bill keep going up and my electric bill keep going up, and I can't afford eggs. But we can invade these oil-rich nations to make corporations more rich, but we can't afford my kids' childcare no more. We
Preach,
can't
Terrence
afford my
Woodbury.
Medicaid.
Preach.
So Black folks got questions, and I do think that's going to impact who they vote for in these midterm elections.
And lastly, and thank you, and we're doing this interview before the March 3rd election because Terrence is flying off and doing great things everywhere. But again, we're so thankful. The last question, we are out of Black History Month, now in Women's History Month. Will this nation rise up to the occasion? Will we ever see a Black woman president, do you think?
Listen,
And do you
I
think Kamala's
absolutely.
coming back?
Is Kamala coming back? Ooh, in transparency, I'm Kamala Harris's poster, so I can't.
So are you polling for her now? Are you polling for her now?
I think that
Are
we
you
will see.
polling for her now, Terrence?
I listen. Once I'm your poster, I'm always your poster. So
Oh, okay.
you
Okay.
got me for life. Just like Keisha Lance Bottoms got me for life, and Jasmine Crockett got me for life. Kamala Harris got me, and I'm in the business of electing Black women. So I believe that we are going to be able to elect a Black woman president. But first, we need to elect a Black woman in U.S. Senate in Texas and a Black woman governor in Georgia.
And there's some Black people. Mandela Barnes is out there for
Yeah,
Wisconsin. You got Chris Jones in Arkansas. You were his poster, so you got him for life as well.
yeah,
But I thank you. Guys, I mean, sometimes we kept this light but real. Sometimes we have to take it in bites because I'm gonna tell you, I gotta laugh to keep from crying. And
yeah,
I need it. I don't need to hear the harsh truth like that. I need a little bit of softening. What
yeah.
is it? A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. I'm from that old
That's
school.
right.
This
And
is
we
a
got to
tough.
keep hope alive. We can't beat people over the head with the world is ending every day without letting them know that we the ones that's gonna save it.
The sky's falling. The
That's
sky's
right.
falling.
That's right.
Terrence Woodley of Hit Strategies. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you so much for having me, bro.
This
Always
was
a
a
pleasure.
great interview. We gotta have you back, my friend.
Listen, I'll be back. We just getting started. Election's just getting started. I'll be back.
All right. All right.
Thank you
When
so much,
something big
April. I'll talk to you
happens,
soon.
make sure your people send us all the stats because we love them.
For
Thank you.
sure. No
That's
doubt.
Terrence Woodbury from Hit Strategies. Thank you guys. And we're going back to some more tea.